Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are talking about the Hajj and the different applications and the obligations and the pillars and so on of Hajj. And today I'm going to talk about the Tawaf. Tawaf is one of the pillars of Hajj, it's one of the pillars of Umrah. And it's a really great, important part of doing the Hajj and Umrah. And subhanAllah, Tawaf in its simplest form, it's about going around the house, the Kaaba, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered his prophets to constructed by Adam alayhi salam, later reconstructed by Ibrahim, later reconstructed at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and so on. This house is a focus point, it's a focal point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made and chose. And in fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna awwala baytin wudi'a linnas lalladhi bibakka. The first house to be constructed, to be placed down for people, for ibadah, is that in Bakka, which is another name of Mecca. And so when we're doing Tawaf, we are going and focusing and coming into that central place, that focal point of the Hajj, the focal point of the world in many ways, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen that place to be that center point. So Tawaf is something that a person needs to do as part of the Hajj and Umrah. And essentially Tawaf is a very important part, because Tawaf is also like Salah. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ said, "At-tawafu salah, illa annahu udhina lana an natakallama fih." Tawaf is Salah, except that we have been allowed to speak during Tawaf. So Tawaf, if you think of it from that perspective, you're going to need to do the same things and all the other aspects that are similar to Salah in terms of the obligations related to Tawaf. So you are doing your Salah, you need to obviously have the intention, you need to be have covered your nakedness, your awrah, satr al-awrah. For the woman, it's all her body except her face and hands. For the man, it's that between the navel and the knees. And we'll talk a little bit more about what the man wears as well. We have also the aspect of cleanliness and purity. So the clothes need to be pure in terms of any najasa, but also your body has to have ritual purity as well from any hadith. So if you've broken your wudu, you need to be making your wudu. And that's also important, and you have to maintain that during the Tawaf. So if at any time your wudu breaks, you have to stop and go make wudu and come back, and we'll talk about that in a short while. So those are the main aspects in terms of thinking about the Tawaf. But then there are obligations related to the whole practice of Tawaf. So first of all, it must be that the house is on your left side. So the house will be on the left side as you are doing the Tawaf in what would be considered anti-clockwise if you are looking at a plan view. And this, subhanAllah, is also quite an important aspect, because a lot of people today, when considering at a micro level and at a macro level that things do rotate in this way, in orbits, in an anti-clockwise way, it's almost like a natural phenomenon, if you like, and you are joining in this, coming in, you come from outside and you join the continuous circumambulation around the Kaaba, and you just become part of that. And then after you finished your 7, you leave and other people are coming, and it's a beautiful picture of this house. Always people are going around it to show that they are in sync. It's a form of synchronizing with the ibadah, with the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't exist in that house. That's not his house where he resides. But it is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has named his house out of virtue and out of the greatness and importance of this place. And in fact, all the masajid belong to Allah. They are the houses of Allah, meaning that they are connected to Allah and they have that virtue that comes with that as well. So the house has to be on the left. When you start the Tawaf, again, of the obligations must be that the black stone, you must be in line with the black stone. Either all of your body or partial part of your body. You're going to turn and face the black stone and indicate with your hands or so to say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and then to start your Tawaf. Bismillah, Wallahu Akbar, and to start the Tawaf. Obviously, part of the obligations of Tawaf is that they must be done 7 times. You have to do the Tawaf 7 times, and it must be inside the masjid, not outside the masjid. The masjid is very big, but it's inside the masjid that you need to be doing the Tawaf, not some distance outside, and that's obviously going to be quite hard as well to do it very far away. But the masjid now has been made quite bigger and bigger due to many efforts, and obviously there is a need with so many people out there. One tip, or as some people like to call it as a life hack, Hajj Hack, is to try and do it close to the house. Very busy, a lot of pushing, a lot of people. It sometimes can be very frustrating for people who can't deal with this. But when you do it in the house, and in the case, obviously it's more virtuous to be closer to the house, because as we will see in some of the recommended acts, you need to be close to the house if you want to get those acts. But it will also save you time, because a Tawaf may take anything from half an hour to 40-45 minutes within that place of the house. However, if you go upstairs, the distance is going to be considerably more. You're going to be walking more. Might take you sometimes 2 hours, 3 hours. Some people enjoy that, and they want that because it gives them more time to do dua, to do dhikr, to contemplate on where they are. And so there is virtue in doing that as well. However, if you're somebody who doesn't have much time, or somebody who gets tired easily, then you need to consider that as well. So those are the essential parts in terms of the obligations of Tawaf. You have to also pay attention that there is a place which inshallah you'll not miss, but you have the house, which is the cuboid if you like, but then there's a small area which almost looks like it's like a small wall, which is a semicircle wall, and this is called the Hijr of Ismail, the room of Ismail. That is considered part of the house. So when you do Tawaf, don't go inside there. Usually it's now sanctioned off. People are not allowed to go there unless people want to pray there, because when you pray inside there, it's like you're praying inside the house. There's a long story and history about how the building of the house was initially made, because essentially the house was not a cuboid. It was more of the extending up to the room of Ismail alayhi salam, but that's another story for another day. Some of the recommended things that you need to do in Tawaf. Obviously Tawaf, we said it's Salah, so you get in the reward of Salah, and when you're in Salah, you need to be doing as much remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need to be doing as much of the adhkar as possible. The best adhkar are that which were the Prophet ﷺ taught, and the most prominent adhkar, if you like, in Hajj is that which the Quran mentions and that which the Prophet ﷺ used to do, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَقُولُ رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And the Prophet ﷺ used to increase that mostly by what's known as the Yemeni corner and the black stone corner. Those two corners was that which when the Prophet ﷺ used to increase this specific dua. But generally any dua, tahleel, takbir, talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, recitation of the Quran, adhkar, dua, all that is recommended to do, and you should be engaged in that. Don't let the shaitan catch you out by starting to go on your phone. Some people start calling their people, their friends, Assalamu alaikum, you never guess where I am, I'm on Tawaf, and some people are taking photos, selfie. Don't waste that opportunity. This is a great time to get reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the time of Tawaf. Obviously you're going to be walking around. For men, it's recommended in the first 3 rounds to walk a bit faster, otherwise known as ramal, again for the action of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In terms of the dress for the men, we know that the men in Hajj wear 2 white pieces of cloth. While doing tawaf, we do something called ittiba', which is to cover the left shoulder with the wraparound and leaving the right shoulder open. So it's the left shoulder which is facing the house, the right shoulder is uncovered, and you're going to be doing that as well, called al-ittiba'. And we'll talk about that later on, inshallah, about the significance of this as well. So doing the adhkar, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing that, to try and do it in succession, meaning to do it in one go, the 7 one go. Obviously there will be times when it will be cut off, maybe there's the adhan and the iqama, etc. And sometimes you might break your wudu as well. So try to maintain the wudu if you can. I know it's not something that we can ask, but it's try. If you break your wudu, you have to stop there, go and make wudu, and then go back to the beginning of that round that you've done. If you've finished 3.5 rounds, and during that half round you break your wudu, you're gonna go back and start the 4th one again. So you've done 3, you're gonna go on to the 4th one again. Obviously, whilst some of the sunnah the Prophet ﷺ also used to do during tawaf was to try and touch the Yemeni corner, which is the corner just before the black stone, and if possible to touch and kiss the black stone if possible as well. I know nowadays it's so busy, it's really a great privilege if you can touch either of those. But if it's not busy and you are able to do so, then that is also a sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And touching any part of the house is also something that is recommended. It's not something the Prophet ﷺ used to do, but if you do it, it's not something that is wrong per se. I know some people try to push you away, but again, not to be distracted by that. So 7 times will be the obligation for you to do. Once you've done the 7, it's recommended to do something called rak'atay tawaf, the 2 rak'ah of tawaf, in which you're going to be praying 2 rak'ah. Best place to do that is something called the Station of Ibrahim. It's like a golden pillar which has been signed to put that station between you and the Kaaba. But if you can't, again, it's going to be quite busy, then anywhere in the haram, in that place, to do the 2 rak'ah of tawaf. And that's a rak'ah you could do at any time basically, but it's good to do it after you finish the tawaf if you can. If you can't, and you even days later, some ulama say even weeks later, or you could still do that recommended rak'atayn of tawaf. That's in a summary the main aspects of tawaf, and speak to you soon inshallah ta'ala in another video. Assalamu alaikum.